and apply in the usual way, and we would love to see you. OK, we are going to stay on the business of the last few days, because that's what you all want to talk about. So, Jamie Krell, where are you? Let's hear your question.
After the effects of the fiscal event on Friday, will first-time buyers ever be able to afford a mortgage?
So, Jamie, I'm assuming you are asking this question, because does this apply to you personally?
Yeah, but, I've been saving for about 4 years. Wow. I feel like Friday was probably the nail in the coffin for me. It has been hard prior to that with house prices are going up, but I feel like Friday was the nail in the coffin, at least for me, in the next 2 years.
Right, OK. I'll be interested to hear from anyone else on this particular subject as well, actually. Bridget.
Yeah, it's a time of real worry, and where it comes to people who already are in the position of owning their own home, and we've already heard the impact that will likely have, but also those of you, like you, who want the chance to buy your own home, and I think people should be able to do that. It's many of us aspire to that and want the opportunity to own our own home. The reality is we don't build enough houses
so
in this country.
how would Labour help? It's someone like Jamie particularly.
Yeah, we need to make it easier to get more houses built, and that applies to both homes to buy but also homes to rent too. We haven't done that for a very long time as a country. I think, going back to the point around the wider set of priorities that we've seen from the government and how we get growth in our economy, I think the fundamental difference between the approach that I would take and that Labour takes and Paul's approach is that I believe growth in our country comes from the working people of this country, so from the bottom up and the middle out, and you don't generate growth by simply just handing over a tax cut to the very wealthiest. I think it's the people in this room, the teaching assistants, the nurses, the shop workers, the delivery drivers, they are the people that will drive growth. So any plan for growth, it's not trickle down, it's from the bottom up and the middle out. So any plan for growth has to involve investing in our people, investing in their skills and making that transition as well where it comes to the new technologies of the future. Climate change presents us with so many challenges, but it also presents us with so many opportunities to create brilliant jobs right across our country, well paid, highly skilled. That should be the focus of government, not unfunded tax cuts that lead us to a crash on the economy.
Karen, so what can we say to Jamie? Will first-time buyers like Jamie ever be able to afford a mortgage now? Because in the short, right now you're thinking you can't.
I mean,
sorry, let's hear what you're going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get a new house by the time I'm 30, so that's 2 years. I just feel at the moment I'm trapped in like a rent cycle, and yeah, it's not going to happen realistically now, especially with like energy bills are going up.
Well, also the government has taken action on it.
Yeah, and to be fair, like they have, but it's everything else that is going up as well. Like rent is going up as well.
So you're not feeling better off?
I'm feeling a lot better off.
So the aspiration to own your own home, I mean, I still remember when my wife and I bought our first home, how we struggled to get that deposit amount and then to get our first. It's one thing we've got to encourage. What's happened, it's actually gone down because house prices have gone so much that it's impossible just to even get on the ladder. And here you were nearly on the ladder, and now interest rates are just rocketing up.
And mortgage products being withdrawn,
and,
as we've already heard.
And people with existing mortgages, those if you've got a 2.29%, it may run out next year. It may run out in 2 years, and then it'll shoot up by 4%, 5%.
Banks will say, "Can you meet the higher interest rate before they'll lend you any money?"
But again, to give the government credit, in this announcement on Friday, they did say they would make house building easier. But let's see the action on it. We need hundreds of thousands more houses per year. Let's build them. We talk about the green revolution. We can make small modular nuclear reactors. Rolls-Royce have the technology. They can build them within 5 years. Each one can power the city the size of Sheffield. We haven't even started building one. Let's get on and build them. That'll create jobs. That'll deal with the climate change.
Yes. So in addition to being more difficult to buy your first home, actually selling your home I'm finding is difficult at the moment. So Paul, this is one for you really. In light of the cladding crisis that's ongoing at the moment, our insurer has actually demanded £250,000 from 52 leaseholders by the end of this month, which is an impossible ask. I'm just wondering, what are the government doing to stop these profiteering companies? Is this part of helping the rich over the the leaseholders of the country? Or
Now, Paul, I'm going to come back to you to answer that specifically. I'm just going to go around the audience a bit more, if that's all right. The woman in the front there in the glasses.
Hi, Paul, this is for you again. I mean,
Feel free to ask the panel as well, to say in the interest of balance.
I mean, I have dyscalculia, which is mathematical dyslexia, but even I know that 5% cut for somebody earning over £150,000 is worth more to them than a penny for somebody earning a lot less. And the cut for the people earning a lot less is not going to happen till April next year, but the 5%'s gone right now. So you're saying that you want us to have more money in our pockets, but I mean, Ofgem, we're going to increase the rates by, I think, about 178%. You've stepped in as a government and said, oh, no, that won't happen, but they're still going up by about 96%. That's a massive increase for people like me and people on this panel. How can Jamie over there get a new house when he's got to think about the cost of living, the cost of food, the cost of rates, everything? It's not working.
OK. Again, I will come back to you. I'm just going to try and get round the audience a little bit. The woman there with the hand, you've got with a sweater on. Yes, you, yeah. Yes.
Is now the time for the Chancellor to move the main budget further forward, to move it to the next few weeks, and hopefully it should be better thought out?
What you mean in terms of because at the moment we're expecting a statement on the 23rd of November, and so you're asking should it be brought forward? OK. The question that we've been asking is about mortgages. Has anyone got anything here to say about mortgages in particular? Yes, we've got a couple there. The woman there in the white headscarf, yes.
Yeah, I just want to know what the plan is for mortgages, because I was actually in the process of getting a mortgage as a young person, and I was told my initial interest rate would be 4.5%. And I was told today that the lender has pulled that offer, and now the best offer that I can get is about 10.5%.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're saying that, you know, you need to immediately look at sort of putting your application through, because if you don't, the lenders may even pull these offers. And for me now, as a first-time buyer, I mean, I don't think I can now afford to get a mortgage.
Friday?
Yes, yeah.
So let's just hear a bit more about that, because that's an extraordinary
So I was given
jump.
this initial rate about 2 weeks ago. So we were in the process of getting all the documentations together, making sure everything is correct, ID and all of those things. And today I was told, you know, the lenders are pulling those offers. Those offers are no longer there.
And are they giving you any... What are they saying to you as to why they're doing that?
So they're just saying that the lenders are pulling the offers. That's it. They haven't said anything else. And they said now the best offer that we have is about 10.4%.
Wow. Right.
Does that make you uncomfortable, Paul,
Which, as a first-time buyer, I mean, you can imagine it's almost that you can't do it. Like, you have to think from 4.5% to 10.4% is a drastic increase.
And are you being given any hope that if you just sort of sit tight for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, I don't know, that actually it will settle down, you'll be back to an offer that you might be able to afford?
Not really. I mean, given that we're in a recession now, I don't think that can happen for the next couple of years at least. So.
There's a couple of other things that, that people have asked for, so I'll come back to you. What's your name, sorry?
Rabia.
Rabia, what do you say to her?
Yeah, so in terms of the mortgage, I mean, I was looking at an interview with the representative.
How do you help Rabia particularly? She's there.
No, absolutely,
she could vote for you. How are you? Maybe you have already.
Let me try and explain it. So the representative from the UK Finance, who represents lenders, was speaking just yesterday, and he was saying the fact that there are still more mortgage products now than there were 10 years ago, despite the reduction. So there's still money around. But you're right. No, absolutely, you're right. That what you're finding at the moment, and the mortgage lender, a gentleman over here was chatting before about the constraints. What we found, if you go back 2.5 years to the beginning of COVID, when we started lockdown there, lots of businesses were scrabbling around with furlough, not sure what to do with paying other people. Those first few weeks were really, really difficult as businesses tried to find the certainty that Karan Bilimoria was talking about.
In fairness, that was caused by a pandemic, as opposed to what happened on Friday.
But what I'm saying is it's the uncertainty. So we talked a lot earlier on about how the markets and what have you are trying to get through this and work out what's happening. Yeah. And that's the certainty we want to give is through, first of all, communicating far better, far clearer. But secondly...
Well, come on, the answer is not to tell Rabia she's basically wrong. I mean, if we just communicate it better...
No, I didn't say she did. I didn't at all. I'm trying to make sure that actually we can settle down the lending market to make sure that she gets a better deal.
OK. Well, I'll tell you what, Richard...
But I can't go into individual circumstance, clearly, but I would like to...
So, Rabia, what's your response to that?
I mean, I know I'm not getting a better deal, and also in terms of more offers being valid. So I was given like 4 different offers, sort of with different interest rates. None of them are now available.
Wow. Do you feel like this mini budget has had a very big impact on your life?
On me personally, as an individual, yes. As someone who was looking to get a house, yes.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
I'll have a go instead.
I come back to it. Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
So Paul says with some relief on his face.
No, happy to.
There is a real paradox here. I mean, one of the things that you could have been arguing about tonight on the panel was a cut in stamp duty. When the government did want to help, did want to sort of free up and take off the edge of something what's effectively a tax on moving and on the housing market. But this, clearly, we just heard it from Rabia, these circumstances so outweigh any gains. And this is what perplexes me so much about the fiscal event. And there's the idea that the government should now intervene more to sort out a situation which it kicked off. I mean, I think people out there will be thinking, please don't intervene anymore. You know? It's like, whatever you do, just don't intervene. And that is a real problem for a party of home ownership. And the aspirational note that the Conservatives have struck successfully for many years, and sometimes where Labour had mixed messages, I think they're really in danger of losing it on this issue. It is obviously specific examples we heard from the audience, but also that generally, if you associate the Conservatives with problems with your mortgage, well, I mean, you know, I'm not a marketing genius like Karen here, but I wouldn't say that's a particular.
But yet, their objective, the objective of what you're trying to do, to generate growth, which will then generate jobs, which will then generate taxes, which will then pay down the debt,
it should work.
Is a good objective to have.
It is, but the timelines don't work, Karen.
Exactly.
I mean, their timelines seem to me to be so far out joint, and I will shut up on
But
this.
it comes back to building houses.
That we now have a situation where you have all of the pain, and it appeared that this was not, and I don't know if you feel it was, but it wasn't even factored in by the Prime Minister and the Chancellor.
But the ultimate way of actually sorting out Jamie's original question, which, as Bridget says, is to build more houses. Now, so investment zones have got a really important place to actually unlock some of the building that is around but not happening, including 12,000 just around near in Bolton. I was down in Ebbsfleet where there's 15,000 on. We need to get on and build, frankly.
Now, I'm very conscious that everything we're hearing from you is very critical of what the government has done on Friday. And I also know that there are more of you have voted Conservative than have voted for any other single party. So just, you know, I want to hear all views. And I don't know so far, of those of you who've spoken, if you're Labour supporters or you're in the don't know category or what you are. But I'd really like to, just in case I haven't already, so I can't tell, I'd like to hear from any Conservative voters.
All the hands went down.
So you've had your hand up, so you're a Conservative voter. Yeah. So tell me your experience and what you're thinking.
I was at the last election. I don't
Hang on, so are you now thinking you won't be at the coming election?
I don't know.
Okay, so you were a Conservative voter and now you don't know. OK, but sorry, tell us your story.
Well, just the fact that in the last 10 years, the government have kept going on about affordable housing, making housing affordable. I don't understand why, in the first place, you haven't changed the building regs so that all houses are faced with a south-facing roof, so that they are fitted with solar panels. And if you want heat exchangers, why they're not? You don't get the developers to put the heat exchangers in. At their cost, that can be spanned out over the entire length of the mortgage as part and parcel of the house.
So you're talking about trying to introduce green energy-saving
but making housing
mechanisms
affordable.
as part of the house.
If 10 years ago the government had said, right, we're changing the building regs, all houses now, new builds, have to have PV panels, maybe a small turbine or something, or heat exchangers, whatever you want to do, why aren't they simply doing it so that it's on the new builds? It'll add 20 grand to the cost of the house, which is neither here nor there, but gets paid back over the 25 years of a mortgage. And quite simply, people will save enough money to be able to pay towards their mortgage.
And let's hear from the man at the back. Yes, you've got a microphone hanging in the dark jacket, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Conservative voter, and I think it does become a little bit embarrassing, to be honest. We seem to go from one disaster to the next, and as much as you look at the policies and individually, I think a lot of the policies that were mentioned in the mini-budget are pretty good and will help with growth. But I think the timing is horrendous, coming off the back of the pandemic. And then we have something which shocks the markets. And clearly, you know, there was no OBR data to support it, and here we are now, a week on, with a lot of problems to face.
OK, and the man in the white shirt right in the middle at the back.
You said that the Conservatives are a party of home ownership and you want to build more homes, but people simply aren't going to be able to either get the mortgage to move into the home or even remortgage as well. In Manchester, there's been homelessness, which has been dealt with by Andy Benham really well. Homelessness funds. It's a really real concern that people, 2-3 years' time when they're remortgaging, they're not going to be able to afford it and there's homelessness. Have you got any plans for that, to deal with that?
Right, now, Paul, I'm aware that there's a slew of questions that have come your way, and I want to give you a chance. Shall I just... You're going to have to touch across all. I'm just going to remind you what they are, because it's unfair to expect you to remember. So you talked about cladding and wanting help with cladding, which has been an issue that's been going on for some considerable time. You mentioned how any money you're saving in energy, you're actually going to be paying more in other costs as well. And then you were talking about, you know, heat exchange pumps, solar panels. Could that not be something that's put into the cost of the house right at the very beginning? You can pay it out over the long term. So that's three pretty wide-ranging things. But I just wonder if you... just to be fair, I just want to give you the chance.
No, that's fine. Yeah, because I'm really glad you asked about the cladding, because I'm 2 weeks into...
cladding over here.
Sorry, it's over here. So I'm 2 weeks into the job Minister for Building Safety, so it's something that I'm absolutely leaning in. How we deal with what has happened over the last few months, the work that we've done around the Building Safety Act, one of which is looking at this insurance. And the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, has actually just this week released a report where they've been looking at this, where they've exposed some really terrible practice, whereas you know, agents are demanding commissions, kickbacks from the insurance companies before they actually place their insurance with them, and these kind of things, which actually then just ratchets up the insurance. So we, you know, I would be responding to that ASAP, because that's absolutely outrageous.
And you're facing a bill of what, 250 grand?
Yeah, this lady here.
So it needs to be pretty quick for you.
So if you can write to your MP and then get them to write me a letter, I will happily look at your individual case.
Or maybe she could talk to you directly afterwards.
I'll be here. But can I just
of course.
So in terms of the South Facing, yeah, I mean, again, I was business minister. I wasn't dealing with net zero directly, but we have to do. We can't just jettison net zero. We have to factor that right into everything we're doing across government, but including house building, because we know that we have to change the way that that we are building, that we are approaching energy, so that we can have local energy generation. The other thing I wanted to tackle was in terms of how you get a mortgage.
This woman's point here, which is you're saying that anything that you've had help with in terms of cheaper energy bills relative to what was to come, as opposed to what was before, you worry it's going to be swallowed up by the higher cost of everything else.
Well, I think the thing is with interest rates. Interest rates are there for the Bank of England to deal with. It's their one lever monetary policy that they have.
They don't affect market. The market rate is a different thing. They've got the Bank of England interest rates, and what we're seeing is the market, and that's what the mortgages are being.
No, absolutely. But there are a number of people that have got fixed rates that will. I think, you know, my partner's fixed rate she's in for another 18 months, so she's insulated at the moment, another year, so she's insulated for the moment, but we don't know what's going to happen next year. But there's lots of people renewing their fixed rates now. There's people like this lady here that's just trying to take out a new mortgage, and I understand the situation that you're finding yourself in. It's not our lever, it's the Bank of England have their independence to sell to.
But it's not the Bank of England. Sorry,
it's not the Bank of England.
It's market rates. It's two different things.
We heard from Karan Bilimoria earlier on the fact that interest rates were due to go up. I mean, okay, fine.
Not so suddenly.
You made the point about the sudden, but nonetheless, they would be going up to tackle that underlying inflation rate, because their target is 2%. One of the things we're also doing...
But you see, if Rabia there had managed to get her mortgage and got a fixed-rate mortgage, you'd be sitting pretty now.
But I'm coming back to... I come back to your situation. Try again over the next couple of weeks. Come back to the foothills of COVID, when businesses were really uncertain at that point. They are going through that same level of uncertainty now. So as mortgage products will start to get reintroduced to the market, as those lenders understand the backdrop of what they're facing. But one of the things that we're also doing for other people, maybe even Jamie, is actually Liz Truss talked a lot over the summer about letting people use their rent payments to show that they're good payers, to then make it easier for them to get a mortgage.
But Paul, you haven't just... You've been in power now for 12 years. So all of this, these are not new problems that we're talking about.
No, it's not. And look, I responded to the debate on about 2 years ago. It's actually something that John Bird, the founder of the